Okay, skipping that intro already. And switching back to what Train Boy 54 was supposed to finish from yesterday. Train Boy 54's thoughts on Thomas and Friends' Extraordinary Engines, Part 2. Next episode, Hugo and the airship. There's an airship? The inspectors are expecting Hugo, when later Henry sees a zeppelin, or an airship if that's what it is, and thinks Hugo is flying. I don't think that's Hugo. Hugo goes off after the zeppelin, or airship. This makes James think of the time he first saw the hot air balloon. While Hugo follows the zeppelin, he accidentally makes Skiff and Captain Joe go backwards. Captain Joe? It's nice to meet him. It sounds like a new name for a new character. Hugo goes up Gordon's Hill, but when he gets to the top, he goes back down. Thomas was right. Hugo was too heavy to fly in the sky. He arrives at Knapford Station and tells Thomas why he could not fly. Sir Topham Hatt explains to Hugo that he is perfect being on the ground and traveling by land. Hugo then thinks that it might be right after all, and gives an extra blast of his propeller to make Skiff fly down the track. Well, that's sort of interesting. I think I'll give it 3 stars out of 5. 3 steam engines gruff. I don't know how interesting that episode is, but let's give it a go. It's autumn on Sodor, and Thomas meets Toby along his branch line, who says the trees look very spooky. Thomas is along his line further and notices a broken fence. He sees Trevor the traction engine and tells him about it. Well, I haven't seen Trevor since Season 2 in Saved from Scrap. Trevor says he'll tell Farmer McCall about it. But that night, Thomas tells the other engines about the fence. They all wonder what broke it. Percy is nervous as he sets out to pull the mail train. He is making his deliveries and comes across the bridge on the branch line. But all of a sudden, he hears a moaning sound. Is that like a moaning sound to you? Frightened, he runs back to the sheds. But he ran so fast he rockets right into Henry, who rolls further into his berth. Oh, Percy, you could have crashed into the sheds. It might collapse on the engines. Gordon is not amused. Percy, however, is very worried toward the sound he heard. He tells Toby and Thomas about it. Thomas assures him there is nothing to worry about. Toby is baffled and scared by this, and is not looking forward to crossing the bridge on the way to the quarry. Toby has to go over the bridge too? When Thomas is nearing the bridge and decelerates, puzzling Annie and Clarabelle, Thomas tells him what he's up to. But suddenly, he hears the moaning sound Percy told him about, and dashes away. I don't know what made that moaning sound, but that's kind of annoying. Thomas, Percy, and Toby met up at Farquhar Station, which is the top station on Thomas's branch line, and discusses the sound they heard. Percy, remembering the story of the 3 billy goats scruff, thinks it's a troll. Toby reminds the others about how the little goat survived by going across the bridge first and telling the troll to eat his bigger brothers. The engines are all very scared and do not want to be consumed by the troll. Is that how the story's 3 billy goats gruff explains? I don't believe you, Percy, or Thomas about it, Toby. But the troll, it sort of reminds me back on Dora the Explorer. There is a grumpy old troll who lives under the grumpy old troll bridge. I'm not gonna bring that up now. getting back to my thoughts, Toby claims first, Percy second, leaving Thomas to go third. At the bridge, Toby and Percy hurriedly cross the bridge, which goes past the watermill, leaving Thomas on the other side. Slowly proceeding across, Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle heard the noise and listened more carefully, realizing it's a COW! A cow! Moo! So that's what made that noise! A cow! Stuck under a bridge? Toby and Percy are surprised by this. Thomas fetches Jem Cole, who I haven't seen in a long time, Farmer McCall, and Trevor to rescue the cow, who was the escaped cow from the broken fence. Thomas takes her back to the Farmer McCall's farm, and that night Thomas, Percy, and Toby tell the other engines about their adventure. Gordon, Henry, and James laugh. Hey, what about Edward and Emily? Did they laugh, or did they believe Thomas, Percy, and Toby? Toby says it's not funny, but Thomas says it was a little amusing. That was not amusing. Ugh, I don't think that episode was good enough. So much for Extrodinary. Either Thomas, Percy, or Toby were, I'm gonna go with a half a star out of 5 for 3 steam engine scruff. Last but not least, Skiff and the Mermaid. Skiff and Captain Joe work at Owlsburg, giving tours to tourists. One day, Skiff overheard Sir Topham Hatt talking to a museum manager about a mermaid. Whoa. I wonder if this will be the first time Ariel will come to the island of Sodor. Skiff tells Duck that there will be a mermaid coming. Duck says that mermaids don't exist, but Skiff tells him that he has heard of a lot of tales about mermaids, but he would love to see one of them. Wait, Skiff hasn't even heard about the Little Mermaid. Oh, I hate to get a strange, funny-looking feeling if I came across a mermaid. Skiff spends the rest of the day looking out to sea, hoping he would be first to spot the mermaid. Then Oliver and Toad arrive. Toad asks why Skiff is staring out to sea. Skiff explains that a mermaid is soon arriving. Oliver tells Skiff that unexpected things can happen, and tells about the time when Toad spotted a stranded whale. Well, a little flashback from Toad and the whale would be good. The next morning, Skiff is up and early, since he didn't want to miss seeing the mermaid, but there was still no sign of her. Duck arrives with Sir Topham Hatt and his grandchildren, Stephen and Bridget. He tells the manager that the mermaid is on its way at the exact moment. Skiff tells Duck that the mermaid will be coming. Maybe the mermaid is real after all. I'm not sure about that, Duck. We'll see what will happen. Stephen and Bridget, or Sir Topham Hatt's grandchildren actually, arrive beside Skiff, and Captain Joe asks if they are ready for their harbor trip. Sir Topham Hatt tells his grandchildren to not get in the skiff until Captain Joe gets their life jackets. Stephen and Bridget ask Skiff what he likes best, land or sea, or being on land or being on sea. Skiff says he likes both parts. Then Skiff thinks he spots a mermaid out at sea. He calls for the anchor to be dropped on board. Without warning, Skiff blows along the rails towards the sea, with Sir Topham Hatt in it. Once out at sea, Skiff orders Sir Topham Hatt to control him by his sail. But Sir Topham Hatt doesn't understand the instructions Skiff ordered. Skiff cannot see the mermaid anymore and starts being doubtful of where it might be. At Owlsburg, Captain Joe and Sir Topham Hatt's grandchildren try to look for Skiff and Sir Topham Hatt. Duck tells Toad that they're out there somewhere, at sea. Joe is assured that they're okay and says Sir Topham Hatt is a very resourceful man. I don't think he's that very resourceful enough. The Sodor Search and Rescue Center is alarmed. Captain and Harold are called to the rescue. Somewhere isolated, Skiff and Sir Topham Hatt have reached land. Skiff apologizes for going without his captain and tries to explain about seeing the mermaid, but Sir Topham Hatt mumbles about how much time it could take for them to be found. Well, it turns out they haven't gone that far enough. Harold tells Captain he spotted Skiff and Sir Topham Hatt on the deserted place near the beach at Bluffs Cove. Sir Topham Hatt arrives back at Owlsburg with Skiff, where his grandchildren are happy to see him. Skiff explains he raced off because he thought he saw a mermaid. Sir Topham Hatt says that Skiff got it all wrong. Thomas arrives with the mermaid figurehead for the front of the pirate ship. That's it? A figurehead model of the mermaid? Oh, jeez Louise. That night, Toad says the mermaid is beautiful. Skiff agrees, but he wished he had seen the real mermaid and now knows that things like it doesn't exist. Toad is picked up by Oliver, and he calls goodnight to Skiff before he leaves. As the moon reaches in front of the clouds, a whale's tail appears in the water. Wait, what tail is that? A whale tail or a tail of a... Skiff is hypnotized by it. Oh, great, there's that look on Skiff's face. I knew what would happen if Skiff came across a mermaid. Well, so far, what I like about Extraordinary engines, Hugo, the new engine, or Rail Zeppelin, Trevor, the traction engine, which I haven't seen since Season 2 of Thomas and Friends, Henry glowing in the dark. Wow! I wish Trackmaster would make a model of Henry glowing in the dark. The airship from Hugo and the Airship, and Captain Joe. Well, I must say it's nice to meet Captain Joe. He's more better than Sailor John from Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure. And finally, what I dislike are just the two things. 3 steam engines gruff, half a star out of 5 for that, and, well, Judy and Jerome. Judy and Jerome should be more helpful than just, Judy! Jerome! Ugh. Yeah, it's best to know where Judy and Jerome are, in case if there's an emergency. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on Thomas and Friends' Extraordinary Engines. So, thanks for watching. This is Trainboy54, signing out.